Now, this is the story that I believe that storyteller 2,500 years ago told. And it's about a group of people, a nation of people who we would call nomads, which meant that they never lived permanently in one place. They moved around, and the reason they moved around was that they kept sheep and goats, and whenever the grass where they were had all been eaten by the sheep and the goats, they used to move. They had these big tents for houses called yurts, big brown things, and if you went inside they were amazing, with tapestries and a fire in the middle and lots of people in there having fun. But when the grass got too short, they would pack it all away and move. And they'd move with their horses, because they went everywhere on horses. Even before you could almost walk. As a small child, you would ride a horse. Now, the chieftain of one of these settlements had a daughter, just a daughter, and it was her birthday. She would have been about 12 or 13, and a big party was arranged, and messages were sent out to different settlements all around the area, and people came together. There was a big fire, there was singing, dancing, races on horses, wrestling matches, all kinds of fun. Great time. But, as is often the case, from one of these settlements came a boy who was not good. He was a bit older than the girl. He would have been about 15, and he thought he knew everything. And he had a bunch of friends around him who did do everything he said. He was a bully, basically. And he came along to this party and he had a look round, and he realised that in her time the girl would become the queen of that little settlement. So he thought he would be a bit cheeky. So in the evening of her birthday, he said, you see this ring? And he took a ring off his finger. You see this ring here? If I put it in the fire, are you clever enough to take it out and give it back to me? She just looked and said, well, yeah, maybe, I don't know. He said, oh, please, stand to one side. Everybody, are you watching? Oh, look at this. And he took the ring and he threw it into the fire in the hottest part, where the flames were yellow, almost white. They were so hot. He said, there you go. You go and pick the ring up. And the girl, she did go to the fire, and she did try to put her hand in the flames and pick out the ring and give it back to this rather nasty boy. But it was too hot. It was far too hot. She couldn't do it. And everybody laughed, and the boy stirred it up and made it a bigger thing than ever, and then said, okay, guys, I'm bored. This young princess, if you want to call her that, she has no courage. She can't put her hand in there. Come on, guys, let's go out and ride horses and wrestle and sing. Which they did. And the girl was left there in front of the fire with the ring still in the flames, thinking, what did he mean, no courage? What is courage? I've never heard of that before. Maybe if I'd had courage, could I have got the ring out? And she stayed awake all night, when everybody else was fast asleep and snoring in the yurt outside. And she thought, where's the courage? Perhaps my dad or my mum keeps the courage in a special place. And she went looking, and she eventually found this little box. And she looked in the box and, oh, there was nothing in there. So maybe that wasn't the courage box. And she kept on going all around where the horses were and the other yurts, and eventually, as the sky began to lighten because dawn was coming and a new day was being born, she thought, I'm going to go on a journey. I'm going to find courage wherever it is. So she went and got her horse. No saddle, no reins, nothing, because they were such good riders, and she just jumped on the horse and she rode out of the settlement and she crossed a river. And just at that point, 1,000 sheep were walking by with one shepherd. And he said to her, "Good morning, princess. Where are you going today at this early hour on your own?" She said, "Mr. Shepherd, I'm looking for courage. Do you know where I might find it?" And the old man stroked his beard and said, "Well, you could go that way to the dark forest. Maybe the courage you're looking for is in there. You could go that way to the White Mountain with the storm that never ends. It might be there. Or you could go to the edge of the great sea where there is a tower like a white finger. Maybe courage is in there." And the girl said, "Thank you very much. Right, I think I'll go to the forest." And the old man said, "Good luck," as he took his sheep away. She, the horse, went to the forest. They went inside. It was dark, it was smelly, it was full of strange noises, and slidey things went across her face, and spiders, and maybe snakes down on the ground, and there were yellow eyes everywhere. It was a terrible place. The horse almost asked if she could carry it on her shoulders because he was so frightened, let alone the girl. And eventually they came to the edge of the forest. Thank heavens there was sunshine, but no courage. They hadn't seen it anywhere. So she looked over, and very, very far away she could see this big mountain. And yes, indeed, on top of the mountain there was a great storm with lightning and thunder and rain, and it never seemed to stop. But she and the horse made their way slowly in that direction, and up they went, into the foothills and up the tracks, and eventually the mountain became so steep and rocky and snowy she had to leave the horse tied to a tree here, and she climbed on her own right to the top of the mountain. And the storm raged around her, and the lightning threatened to strike her, and the rain soaked her, and the wind nearly blew her off the mountain. And she looked under rocks and stones and here and there, but didn't find any courage. Nothing. So she wrapped herself up and she ran down the mountain and got on the horse, and they rode away. That way to the great sea. And after many, many days of riding, they began to see the white tower that stands at the edge of the sea on the high cliffs, very, very far above the raging sea, which boiled down below. And they got to the tower, and she opened the door and looked inside, and it was dark except for one window which let in a little bit of light, and there were steps, only room for 1 foot on each step going up, and there was no handrail. She thought, have I got to go up there? So she left the horse outside and she began to climb slowly up the spiral staircase. She daren't look down because if she did, she would fall and be crushed. And eventually her head boom, boom, boomed against the wooden ceiling, and she felt around with her hands and she thought, this is a trapdoor. And sure enough, there were 2 hinges and a handle, and she pushed it up. And there was a room above with another small window letting in grey light. And she crawled into that room and she stood still. And from outside she could hear the zoom, boom
of the sea as the big waves came and crashed on the shore. And she looked around, and there it was, in the corner, a big box. She thought, this is it. This is the box of courage. She ran across the room and she got her fingers under the lid and lifted it up. Nothing. Cobwebs, dead spiders, but no courage. And in that moment, she felt such an anger, a rage. She slammed the lid down on the box. She went to the trapdoor. She ran down the stairs. She didn't care if she fell off. She came out of the door at the bottom of the tower, jumped on the horse, and they were gone, riding like the wind. And many, many days passed. And eventually she came back to her settlement. And she was about to cross the river when the 1,000 sheep came by one more time. And the shepherd, the old man with the grey beard, said, good morning, madam. And how did you get on? Did you find courage? And she said, no, not at all, nothing. Thank you for your directions. I went to the dark forest. I went to the high mountain with the storm that never finishes. I went to the tower like a finger by the great sea. But nothing. Oh, that's a shame, said the old man. That's a pity. Oh, well, if you don't mind, I must be getting on. And he and the 1,000 sheep moved away. She went back to her big yurt where her parents were. They were so surprised to see her. They said, you've been gone a long time. Oh, we thought something had happened to you. We saw your horse was gone. Well, let's have a party. We're glad to see you back. Yes, yes, yes. Let's light the big fire. Let's do the dancing, the wrestling, and invite all those people again. Okay, she said, yeah, if you must, fine. Yeah. Nice to be home, but she was not in a good mood. She had gone a long way, but found no courage, so she was not happy. Well, everybody came, and those boys, and that boy, the 15-year-old boy, the bad boy, the bully boy, came as well. And he said, look, it's the princess. She's been on some kind of journey. I wonder where she's been. I know she went away because she was embarrassed and ashamed because she couldn't get my ring out of the fire. Oh, are you feeling better now? And the girl said nothing. She stood there like this, thinking, when will this party be over? Well, in the evening, when they lit the big fire, that bully boy thought, oh, let's have that joke again. We enjoyed it so much last time. And he took his ring off and he said to the girl, oh, let's see if you've got some idea how to do it this time. Let's see if you've got the courage to get my ring out of the fire. Look, there it is. It's red. It's nice and hot for you. Come on, guys. We'll only be here for a few seconds and she won't do it, and we might as well go outside and have some fun. But something strange happened. The young girl, the princess-to-be, she suddenly felt something inside. And she remembered the forest and the darkness and the yellow eyes. She remembered the mountain and the storm and the lightning and the wind and the rain. And she remembered the tower by the great sea, from which she could hear the boom and crash of the waves. And she suddenly realized and smiled, because she knew she had found courage in the doing of these things, because she'd been brave and gone to the forest and gone up the mountain and gone up the tower and not looked back ever. The courage she had inside, she had discovered for herself. And in that second, she looked at the ring in the fire and she put her hand in it and took it out and held it there, white hot that it was, and blew it. and then grabbed the hand of the bully boy and pressed the ring into his hand, closed his fingers and said, "There's your ring, young man, enjoy." And in years to come, the princess became queen, and she had a settlement of many yurts and thousands of sheep. But she remembered one person who had believed in her, the shepherd. And when she became queen on that day, she called the shepherd to her, and she said to her soldiers, she said, "You see this shepherd here? Ask him to bring, and you help him, his yurt and put it right next to mine, and give him 600 horses. He is my friend forever." And that is the story told, I believe, by the Siberian storyteller of the girl who searched for courage and found it. Now you go and find your courage before it's too late.